Cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SIG Autoscaling weekly meeting for Monday, the 25th of November. Quite a few items on the agenda today. Adrian, do you want to make a start?
Cool, thank you. So I guess the context is I've been doing a lot of the GitHub issues for the VPA and helping users. There seems to be a lot of misunderstanding around what the VP can and can't do or how it works. And so having a look at the documentation, I thought maybe it's time to give the documentation a refresh and then also start adding content to it. So I have a sort of proof of concept test kind of thing pasted in the community meeting docs. So it's kind of what Ingress Engine X is doing. So I just copied them with make docs and that sort of stuff. And I was wondering if this is a path that we should travel down. And if we should travel down it, I would need help because setting up GitHub pages on a repo requires an admin.
I think my general view is I think it's something we've lacked for all of the components in the repo for quite a while. I don't know about anyone else, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the grepping through a few different markdown files for CA, etc., and the cloud providers, etc. I think it's definitely a significant improvement in the fact that it's the same path that other projects are going down. Feels like a significant improvement to me. I think it feels also, I think, a lot more welcoming to people looking to contribute to things. So yeah, I definitely a fan of this. I think there's probably a question of like how do we arrange the docs for all of the components whilst they're still in the same repo. But
so the example I made there in terms of the VPA, so the examples are VPA only at the moment. The arrangements of the components or the docs of the VPA, I basically copy pasted in terms of the structure. So my plan is let's move onto the system and then start rearranging the actual docs for VPA to make them make sense. In terms of other components in the cluster autoscaler, in the autoscaler repo, cluster autoscaler, add-on resizer, that kind of stuff, I did specifically namespace it. So if you click the link, you get redirected to autoscaler/vertical pod autoscaler. Hoping that if one day the other projects jump on board, they can all live within the same space. Yeah. How do we know if this is the right direction to go? I mean, it sounds like that's a thumbs up from you, Guy.
Michael, Ray, do you want to? Michael first.
I think this absolutely is the correct direction to go. And thank you, Adrian, for doing this work. I think it's really important. I'm glad to hear you talking about the other projects in there. I didn't look at the PR you used to generate this or the code base, but I would seriously recommend, like, if you didn't do it, like, yeah, let's put the MK docs in the root of the auto scaling repo, and then like let's encourage all the projects in there to start putting their documentation in there. And if we start with VPA and we just have to-do links for like the cluster autoscaler and the rebalancer and whatnot, like I think that's perfectly acceptable. But like, yeah, let's make this better for everybody. Like I really appreciate what you've done here, Adrian.
Okay, so my initial idea was to have MK docs per component, but it sounds like you're saying one MK docs which encompasses all three. And I think I like your idea better because it's one set of packages to maintain and worry about with a directory structure in there. Cool. Okay.
Right,
I'll give it a try.
If we're not going to be concerned with ever separating this repo, like if we're going to keep going with the mono repo approach, let's just keep the docs the same way.
Cool.
Yeah, and I just wanted to quickly touch on your tactical question there, Adrian, about needing GitHub admin access. Like, is that something you need from like Guy or Maciek to make this? I'm just trying to understand what you're asking there.
Oh, right. I think it's two things. I think we need to get a GitHub Pages branch created.
There's
and
already
then we need to, okay, and then turn on GitHub Pages for that branch. And then the third thing is getting approval for the various parts of the Git repo that would need approval. So .github for the actions, and then if it goes in the root /docs, well, doc /, I guess. Okay, so I'll chat to, well, I'll get a proper PR going, since it sounds like there's some traction, and then figure out how to move on from there.
Yeah.
Would it be worth would it be worth checking in with SIG Docs to see if they have any ideas? I know they use different technologies, and the docs they have would be out of repo in a different repo. But is there any value of having our docs be combined with the rest of Kubernetes docs so that they are available there? Or is it more valuable to have the docs in our repo so that we can turn around the changes more quickly?
Good
Anyway, I thought it'd be
questions.
worth at least asking the question.
Yeah, I'll ask SIG Docs about that.
Cool. Assuming we go down this path, I'll have a quick look at the set Ingress page as well, because I know that they are also doing a similar thing as we are with charts. So that was my other question, of just making sure that the two don't start fighting each other in terms of that GitHub
Okay.
pages.
I'll also ask SIG Docs about Kates.io or GitHub.io, because I have seen there are some Kates.io projects as well. So just to make sure we're on the same page with the broader community.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks all.
Anything you need my input to.
Cool. What I'll then do is I'll change my pull request to be less proof of concept and more what has been discussed here, and then see where it goes.
Awesome. Link.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the same topic I proposed last week. We want to contribute GCP provider, and we want to have a GCP team, an engineer from GCP team to support us in under our PR, and so that we can help this provider to be accepted in the Carpenter community. Yeah.
Okay, let me respond to that. Well, Google engineers participating in SIG Autoscaling have quite a limited capacity for those contributions. Most of this time is spent directly contributing to cluster autoscaler code, and we also started an effort to align parts of the API surface between cluster autoscaler and Carpenter. And most of the capacity we have on top of direct CA contributions is spent on this alignment. And after some internal discussions, we came to a conclusion that continuing to work on this alignment will bring more value to the autoscaling community than splitting the available capacity that we have and starting to also help with the Carpenter GCP provider integration. So unfortunately, we won't be able to provide basically any open source capacity to help with that. Sorry.
But actually, we can fully build the implementation. So you just show your support under our PR, and that's all.
Well, yes. Unfortunately, reviewing is actually one of the top time sinks we have for our existing contributions. So it's not just implementation. We spend most of our time probably reviewing stuff in CA code base. So unfortunately, we just don't have capacity for any of that. I'm sorry.
Let me explain. Maybe just two PR. One is I want to build this computer provider. You just type look good to me. Only two PRs. Like first is a Kapanda official repo, and we need this. You just yeah, you can go with this. Like this kind of support. Is it possible?
I am afraid we can't provide any, we don't have, unfortunately, capacity to provide any sort of support with this project.
What are you asking for code reviews here, or are you asking instead for someone to say, yes, we support the creation of a GCP Carpenter provider?
Yeah, the second one.
Well, as SIG Autoscaling, taking off my Google hat right now, as SIG Autoscaling, we definitely do support introducing a GCP cloud provider for Carpenter 100%. It's just that we as Google engineers can't literally provide any support with that. So it's probably you probably have maybe a better actually asking on the Carpenter side of things, especially since the code will end up there.
Elmiko, do you want to weigh in, since I know you have?
Yeah, I had a question for Ling and Wei. So I've seen the code that you created in the Cloud Pilot AI organization. You're asking for support and a PR here. Are you looking to donate the Carpenter provider GCP to Kubernetes SIGs, or are you going to keep it in the cloud provider? Are you going to keep it in your Cloud Pilot AI organization? I guess I was trying to understand what the PR you're talking about. Are you looking to transfer the repo into Kubernetes SIGs or what?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to create a repo like Kapanda GCP provider in the Kubernetes 6.
Right. So that I would say that does not require Google's support at all. That requires the support of SIG Autoscaling. So if SIG Autoscaling is the one you should be talking to here. So if you'd like to propose donating Carpenter provider GCP, and I see Ling's cat is coming to join the conversation too. If you'd like to donate the project to Kubernetes SIGs, I would say open an issue and make SIG Autoscaling as the hosted SIG. And then if the SIG chooses to accept that, then we would migrate the repository over to Kubernetes SIGs. This is the same thing we did with the Cluster API Carpenter provider, although the hosted project in that case was SIG Cluster Lifecycle because of our relationship between Cluster API and Cluster Lifecycle. But I think in this case, it would absolutely be appropriate to approach this SIG and say, okay, if this SIG approves, then you could certainly donate the project to Kubernetes SIGs. So you don't even really need support from Google. You just need support from the community here.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Michael. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe just to reiterate, we don't have any intention of blocking this work. We think it's valuable. It's just that we personally don't have capacity to help with it. But as SIG Autoscaling, this is definitely something that is valuable to the community.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Jack.
Luke might mention this, but he sort of mentioned that he's working on the Cluster API provider for Carpenter. So I would definitely recommend trying to leverage that in your initial tests. I know that it's a little bit of a steep hill to climb if you're not familiar with Cluster API, but you're going to get some functionality to get you some of the way there. But so another thing to emphasize is that the Carpenter community meets, I think, in 40 minutes typically in their own discussion. So Carpenter is a part of SIG Autoscaling, but I would, if you're looking for institutional support, I would predict that community might be a little bit more excited. So you might get some more engineering volunteers, folks looking to volunteer their time to do reviews. But I wanted to plus one what everybody else said. You don't need to ask permission for an open source contribution like this to be blessed by, Azure, Amazon, Google. As far as I can tell, you can just extend the project. So really exciting to hear.
Yeah, agreed. I
Thank you.
think I would definitely reiterate the Carpenter community. I know that I have previously talked to some people at past KubeCons who were interested in seeing a GCP Carpenter provider, so you may well be able to get put in touch with them. Cool. Shubham, I've dropped you a message on Slack.
Yeah, I just saw it, and I will respond after the meeting. Thank you.
Ishmael.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about do we plan a new VPA release? I think Ray already replied to cut it to shortly after 1.32, and that's the usual schedule that we usually do. So mid-December.
Does that sound okay to you, Ishmael, or would you like something sooner?
Yeah, it sounds fine. Thank you.
Awesome. Omer.
I just want to remark the issue I've seen on the Kubernetes main repository, just for the, just people to pay attention to it. That's all.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of typing a sort of mini essay in response to it. I think it's something that sort of flags up some problems we have and probably should have addressed when previous maintainers stepped back from it. HPA. I think we're in the classic problem of like we've got. I mean, Marcin is the only currently listed approver, so I think we'll discuss further on that thread. If people are interested in getting up to reviewer and then eventually approver status, then yeah, feel free to weigh in on that thread. But yeah, it's unfortunately it's not the simplest code base, the HPA. It's not the most beginner friendly part of it. Cool. Unless anyone else has anything on that. Jean-Marc?
Yes, just quickly. I discussed last week or the week before writing a cap, and it's now done. I've sent it for review, but I'm not super familiar with the process. Is there something else I should do? It's been reviewed by Ray already, and I assigned you Guy.
Yeah, myself or Maciek giving it a review will be the next step.
Okay.
So probably myself. I think Maciek's fairly busy at the moment. For me, it's probably one for next week, realistically.
Okay, excellent. Thank you much. I realize everybody's busy. I will come back to this meeting to annoy you so that you feel the pressure. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Cool. That's all we had on the agenda for this week. Anything else that anyone wants to raise? Cool. In that case, thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and see you all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guy.
Thank you.
Later.